Oh, hello everyone. I didn't realize I was already live. We might have some complication with Usama not being here yet. I just saw his message. It looks like he doesn't have our link. I'm going to send a message to him now. Everyone, give me a minute. I'm going to email him. All right. Hopefully he joins us soon. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for joining. We have some new developments we're going to be talking about today on the Free Betty campaign. We'll be talking about Sharif Gaber. I'm guessing everyone already knows about that. And we'll be talking about how you guys could give feedback for the EALS program, Ex-Muslim Advocates Learning Series, a live stream and a discussion forum to train people on how to advocate for their own well-being and more than that. So on, let's see, let's do some announcements. On September 30th, we celebrated International Blasphemy Day 2025 live on this channel. I recommend everyone go watch that if you haven't already seen it. A big thing we focused on was Betty Ibtisam Lashkar and the campaign we're doing to help free her. She's in prison now. It's been I think a couple of months. And she got sentenced to 30 months in prison. And all for wearing a t-shirt that said Allah is lesbian, and she posted it to X, and she wasn't even in Morocco at the time when she did it. Please sign the petition if you haven't already done that. And you can learn more about Betty, her situation, and things you can do beyond just signing the petition. Right there, link in the comments. Just saying something to Usama. So there's been a new thing, or maybe not so new. Sharif Gaber, who is an Egyptian ex-Muslim activist. I don't know that he calls himself an activist. He's a YouTuber. He went missing. We believe it is the government that has him. I'm going to put something on the screen to show this. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. I thought that the apocalypse happened and the zombies started eating your brain, or that maybe you yourself turned into one.
Oh, why? What happened?
Well, usually when I joined the stream, you're there a few minutes at least before I joined, and
I've been here 25 minutes.
Oh, maybe I was using the wrong link.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I screwed that up. I don't know. But I sent you another link just now, and you used that one.
Yeah, unless that's my clone.
All right. I went through a bunch of announcements. Right now, we're going to talk about Sharif Gaber. I'm trying to put this on the screen. I apparently cannot do two things at once. That's why we need two people, by the way. One person can talk while I'm doing the other thing.
Yeah.
What's better here? This one, maybe. He was arrested and from what I understand, they're not even admitting that they have him. The Egyptian government.
I mean, the situation for him for several years has been really very
It's been like 10 years, right? And he got sentenced to 5 years, but I guess it didn't happen.
Yeah, it's a kind of a complicated situation that makes it a little bit hard for someone who hasn't actually been following the details of his case to.
I followed a little bit and then forgot, and then it's mixed in with other people. You know what I mean?
Right, but his situation in particular, compared to many of the other Egyptian bloggers, and I have in mind in particular Ahmed Harakan and Ismail Muhammad. His situation in particular was a kind of a continuous persecution by the government, but because of his very clear visibility, he was not being put in jail, but he was living under constant surveillance. So it's not that he was out of jail and he was not serving a sentence. He was continuously under some kind of observation.
You mean like online surveillance, or do you mean like in the next
No,
room surveillance?
No. I'm talking about his activity in the real life being monitored, being tracked, so that he's allowed to continue producing content, but he's continually under some kind of observation by the government, by the police. So he was arrested several times, but at the end of the day, he was able to produce videos still during the past few years until this happened now. And it's not clear exactly what really happened. Is he under arrest? Is he being detained somewhere? Is he being interrogated and then going to be released? It's not really clear, because he does have sentences by courts against him.
And they're not even admitting having him.
Yeah. So
No.
it's that situation for him in particular is already complicated by this long history of what he was doing over those years, what the government was doing, and so it's a little bit hard to tell. At one point in the past, there were people in contact with him and trying to see what's going on, but as far as I'm concerned, from my end, being in connection with these people, I lost contact, so I don't know exactly what his current situation is.
Yeah, my information is not like direct or anything. It's through like CEMB, EXMNA.
Yeah.
Ex-Muslims International. I'm guessing someone in the network has very close ties and got the information. Otherwise, how would we know that the government has him? Like, I mean, they use the word disappeared, which means his close ties don't know where he is.
Yeah. I probably that's a good characterization of what happened. The most obvious conclusion is that he's in custody by some kind of a governmental agency of some sort. That's.
Do you know what they charged him with exactly?
No. I mean, at various points, he was charged with various things.
Yeah, I mean, over the last 10 years, like not this time, but was blasphemy a term they used?
I think so. I would actually have to go back and look at some of the, because I did write a few things at some point, and our magazine also documented a few things. But blasphemy definitely was a general heading there. And the fact that he was doing this in a very public way with videos that are produced at a very high quality, like
they're very high quality. It's so good. Let me tell you something I do with his material.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I've seen a lot of his stuff, but one time I saw a video of his, somebody linked it in the ex-Muslim subreddit. It was in response to somebody talking about jinn.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing video. I watched the whole thing more than once, I think. Aside from being entertaining, high quality video, it's very information packed. It discussed research done by psychiatrists to figure out what it is that is happening when people say they're possessed.
Yeah.
And I never knew about it before, even though, you know, I've been an ex-Muslim 15 years. I never heard about this till recently. It's such a good video that every time I reply about jinn, I give two links. One link is my explanation for why jinn is not real, and the second link is his video.
Yeah.
Explaining, because it's explaining a whole bunch of stuff other than the epistemological framework that explains why jinn is not real.
Yeah.
It's explaining from the person's perspective why they think they're possessed.
No, that is the quality of the videos. So he doesn't produce a lot. But the stuff that he does produce, he really puts a huge effort into it. I have found a few things here and there in terms of how accurate some of the information is. Sometimes it's a little bit problematic, but overall, the quality of the work, whether it's the filming or the
editing,
the text itself, the acting, because he also creates a kind of sometimes dialogues between several characters, and all the characters are him. Plus, of course, the research itself, which in some of the recent videos was really high quality. So there are some objections.
Do you know what he was doing in 2011? Is he much newer than that? You know, the Arab Spring?
Right. I would like to say he wasn't actually producing, but I'm not entirely sure, because
how old would he have been? Like, what is he? Does he look like he's 30?
Possibly. But
so he would have been like 15.
Maybe I'm
but 15 is pretty conscious and aware of things in the world. A lot of 15-year-olds. And if you're going through the Arab Spring at that time, you know what I heard is from Roy Casagrande. He's a political scientist. You could call him a historian. I would call him a historian. He was describing how a lot of people think that what happened during the Arab Spring was an internet revolution or internet-based.
Definitely, yeah.
Well, what he said was not the case for what happened in Egypt. What was happening in Egypt, and I guess this happened in a previous country shortly before that, the online methods of saying, hey, everyone meet at this location, was being infiltrated by the government officials. And so they would just show up at the same time everybody else shows up. So what the Egyptians started doing was playing like that, doing the online saying, hey, go meet at this location, but nobody would show up there. And they do the old method of passing around pieces of paper of where to go meet.
Possibly, I'm not sure about
that's pretty cool
of this, but I also think that the internet, especially Facebook, did play a really crucial part in the communication that people had, just regular coordination. Yeah, you could have infiltration. I'm sure that this was the case. You could already see people who are not supposed to be there in all sorts of forums and groups and places that are specifically supposed to have people of a certain inclination. So yes, and I'm sure the governments know about that, and they were trying to ensure this. But at the same time, even though Facebook had been there for a while, Facebook/Twitter at the time, I don't think that something like that was really taken as seriously by the Egyptian government. I mean, you're talking about someone, about Mubarak, who was there for 3 decades. You really think that he's going to say, oh, a bunch of kids are organizing something on Facebook, some kind of an event. Okay, let's go take down the government with that. He probably and his other people would probably not have taken it as seriously as that. But definitely, it's something that must have been on their radar.
Yeah, I don't even know what they'd be worried about. I mean, it's not like a bunch of people had a. I mean, it wasn't a militia, right? It's just citizens.
No. Yeah.
With no guns.
Yeah.
Just
absolutely.
protesting.
Yeah.
Why do they have so much of a problem with protesting? Because it wakes other people up. That's why.
Yeah. I mean, it's
goddamn cults.
You want to have that kind of veneer of things are okay.
No protest.
Yeah, and so when things start stirring up this way, it's really hard to.
And that's why in Syria, right after this was happening in Egypt, what Bashar al-Assad did was drive a bus through the crowd. I mean, that's at least one thing I saw on video. I wonder what else was done.
There are things of that sort that also happened in Egypt. It's not also.
So what happened was the Syrian crackdown much more aggressive.
Much more aggressive and much more prolonged, but at the same time, Syria is much more diverse in terms of the groups that operate there, and it had connections of other people from other countries. So it was a much more direct confrontation between the government and.
So the government felt even more threatened in Syria than in Egypt.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they cracked down even harder.
Yeah.
Wasn't there chemical weapons happening at the time?
Chemical weapons have been there in Syria since the 80s.
They've been using chemical weapons since the 80s?
Oh yeah.
So when they when his dad, what's the dad's name?
Hafiz
al-Assad. And what was it, the 80s where he cracked down on Homs?
Hama. And they.
How many tens of thousands?
I think I would like to put in numbers, but I think between 20,000 and 50,000. But don't quote me on this.
Was there chemical weapons involved there?
Yeah. That's definitely something.
Do we know which? Like, I don't know anything about these things. What?
I don't know either.
I'm guessing it's stuff that affects your lungs.
I don't know, but you can also think about nerve agents and things that might. I
don't know what they count as chemical versus biological. Actually, I do. I guess biological would be viruses and bacteria.
Yeah, no, I don't think
a chemical agent that affects your nerves. That's just chemical.
Yeah, no, I don't think the Syrian scientific branch of the military was sophisticated enough to mess around with biological.
With biological, that's way more difficult.
Yeah, but with chemicals, you just go into a lab and put some chemicals together, and you can concoct something that's really nasty very easily.
You can also kill yourself easily, but yeah, I get what you mean. You can, even as a housekeeper, if you mix two typical, and I don't even know which ones they are. Like, I could easily do this wrong, which is, by the way, why I don't clean very much. No, I'm kidding.
Well,
if you take two standard house cleaning agents and mix them and then smell them, if the doors are closed, you're screwed. You die. There have been cases where people die.
Yeah, I think probably some of them are things that you're not supposed to mix, but I mean, I'm a physicist, not a chemist, so I have no idea.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I think with Sharif Gaber, it's really important to highlight this situation because of the uniqueness of this. He has been undergoing various interrogations, also possibly some really unpleasant sessions with government interrogators. So the point is that they're not going to kill him or jail him, because eventually he's so visible to the outside. It's really hard for the Egyptian government, compared, for example, to the case of Betty, where yes, she is visible, but she's visible locally. He has actually been able to gain a lot of following outside of Egypt.
Why would a country like Morocco or Egypt care about the visibility outside their own country?
Well, there are many different ways of thinking about it.
The expatriates?
Not the expatriates. It's sometimes pressure that comes from the West, especially regarding human rights violations and things of that sort. So
people like you and me.
Yeah, well, I would probably think at the level of government mostly.
Yeah, but we're the ones talking. Well, not that government's listening to us, but people like us exposed it, and then the government sees what we're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so
because from what I understand, he doesn't post in English.
He doesn't post in English, but many of his videos have English subtitles. And I think he did do 1 or 2 videos in English, if I'm not mistaken. I don't recall right now.
Okay, I want to go back to something on Betty. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I already talked a lot about Betty, the things you've already seen. I don't think there was anything new except for this. So my mother, Raghad Rustam, is making a painting for Betty, the Free Betty campaign, and it'll be posted everywhere, I guess. Meaning, like a digital version of it will be posted.
It's really wonderful to see another of Raghad's works.
She's also adding Betty to an existing painting that's been running for many years of all the, and you can't really do all, but a bunch of women victims of Islam. Whether they're ex-Muslims or Muslims, if I understand correctly. I remember talking to her about it recently.
She showed me something that was ongoing. I'm not sure if that was the painting or not. Maybe it was something else.
I don't know. She has a lot of work. But anyone who wants to see the work she does, the website's in the comments. Okay, let's move on to the main point of this episode. Today's topic. Is it this? Yes. Designing a training program for ex-Muslims by ex-Muslims. Tell us what you need most. Maybe I should have started with this. And early on we tried to get feedback from people. We haven't gotten any feedback. But I'm trying to put more effort into getting feedback. So that's what this whole episode really is today. I made a Google form, an anonymous form that people can use to give feedback. Even more anonymous than if you went to our discussion forum or emailed me from an anonymous, because you don't have to put in a name or an email address. So let me get that, put it on the screen. Here it is. Actually, I want to put it on the screen too and try to improve it, because maybe it needs to be improved. Let me put that on the screen now. Oops. Okay. This program is being designed to help people advocate for their own well-being, and when ready, go public with their advocacy. Before launching the program, we want to hear from you. And when I say advocate for your own well-being, there's even a step before that, because that makes it sound like advising you on how to act with the people around you. Yeah, that is part of it. But there's a step earlier than that. How to interpret things in your own mind, how to protect your own mind internally before even considering how you're going to act and reply to someone. in however, in reply to whatever they're doing to you.
Yeah.
What would make you feel stronger, safer, and more effective in standing up for yourself or sharing your voice? And again, what would make you feel stronger, safer, and more effective in not even just standing up for yourself, in how to interpret what's happening when somebody's saying mean things to you, let's say. When let's say somebody says to you, let's say a parent says to you, what am I going to pick here? Let's say something like, no one will ever marry you. Imagine a parent says that to their son. That's a shitty thing to say. First of all, they wouldn't know such a thing. Second, even if right now they are in a state where they're not worthy of marriage, they can change and improve and become worthy of marriage. So anyway, the kind of person saying that, what they're doing is trying to make an insult. They're trying to belittle you. So it's good to know those kind of things in your head, independent of what is the proper way to reply to someone who says that to you.
Yeah.
I wonder if I need to change some of our language already, because I haven't been mentioning that. It came up in my mind because I offered this program to someone and they said, well, I'm in a really, my family is very authoritative and I can't do anything. So they skipped the part about your own mind. And I guess I didn't clarify that. So that needs to be explained, not just here, but in the writing somewhere. I don't know where.
Yeah. I think operationally, when you want to look at something of this sort, if you're going to be acting, first of all, you have to bring the actor who's going to be doing the action. And so if the actor is not well prepared internally, they're not going to be able to do whatever it is that is going to be delivered after that. So there definitely has to be some kind of a preparation, some kind of a stage that works on the internals before you start exteriorizing your action.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because if somebody was giving advice like, here's what you should do in reply to someone doing X to you, and you don't focus at all on what's going on in the person's mind, that wouldn't make any sense. That would be similar to, like, if I'm a tutor in physics, and by the way, I am a tutor in physics. I've done that before, and I'll probably do it again when I'm older. Especially if this doesn't work. or like if I lose my business or something. Anyway, where was I going with this? Oh, so I'm a tutor in physics. Imagine I give someone advice on something and it's like, okay, when you see this problem, do this, but don't change any of your thinking. Keep your thinking the way it was before I told you anything, but change the way you output. That makes no sense. You can't have a different output without having a different input. I guess that's what you just said, right?
Yeah, and it's like if you hand someone just a recipe book and you tell them, here are the ingredients, here are the things that you're supposed to use, without really going into the details of what this is being used for, how to mix something with something else, but not with a certain temperature and so on, without really going into the details and just handing them over something that's very mechanical. It's probably not going to, just going through the motion.
Just like in all of school, or maybe not all of school, but all the worthwhile stuff. I don't know, like, can you imagine a physics test that a physics professor gives to the students where, well, actually, this is a real thing, okay? There's some classes, some tests, some types of teachers, on the test, they'll give you the exact same problems that were given in the homework or given during class. So somebody could mechanically just copy what they did in class. But in general, you can't do that, because in physics, engineering, in medical, being a medical doctor, there's infinite scenarios. There's not a small set that you can learn the solution to each one. There's literally infinite scenarios. So you have to learn how to do things in general, so you can take the general concepts and apply them to concrete situations you've never seen before.
Yeah. So that's why especially when we think about, since you mentioned the physics course, one of the things that is a learning goal from a physics course is problem-solving skills. A problem-solving skill is not going to be, yeah, I know how to go through the steps of solving that problem that I've seen before, but I know what kind of steps I should be taking given any problem. Otherwise, I'm not going to be preparing you for anything. I'm just preparing you for...
Also, would it even really be problem solving if the teacher gave you, here's 100 problems, here's the 100 solutions to those 100 problems, memorize those, repeat them exactly the way I said? I don't think that's teaching problem solving, in the sense that the problem solving was done by the teacher.
That is basically
creating the solution from the problem. That's the problem solving. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. If you want to think about the current LLMs and the way that they're able to do a little bit more implementation of skills that are supposed to be learned, think about a very primitive LLM that really takes that pattern recognition and just implements it on the problems it solved. It means that if you throw at it something that's even slightly deviant from what you have taught it, it's not going to know how to proceed. So
let's do an example. Tell me if this is an example that fits what you just said. In 1995, there was a chess engine, I think it was called Deep Blue, that for the first time, beat a champion human.
Yeah, Kasparov.
Yeah, if you change the chess game slightly, like, I don't know, you add another row, or you change a piece, or, you make it like checkers, even in a small way, how would the program work?
I don't know about how Deep Blue operated, but it's obviously it was doing things far more by brute force compared to how a current computer program in chess would do it. So yes, I think in principle what you're saying, if there's a deviation from the originally learned plan, it's not going to be able to perform it.
I think it wouldn't work at all. Part of how they programmed it was humans inputting, like, the framework of what chess is. Like how a bishop can move.
Yeah, I've probably heard of the details at one point. Not that I would know at the level of programming, but I don't remember right now.
One of the aspects, and by the way, as soon as we finish this, I want to get to what Ayman is saying. One of the aspects is, after every move or any chess position, a calculus is done to calculate how strong that position is. And part of that is humans inputted how to make that how to do that calculation. And humans don't even do that. There's a lot of intuition in what we're doing, a lot of principles. And so, and I'm talking about old chess engines. I don't know what chess engines do today, but like Deep Blue in 1995, it's trying to look for every possible variation of what could happen and making a measurement of how strong that position is, and then deciding which move to make. Humans are not doing that. We're doing more following principles, and then a human can beat a chess engine doing that. I mean, Deep Blue won, but also it lost to the human. I think the human beat him second, meaning the human learned and improved on the second time.
Yeah, I don't remember the history of the exact sequence of events, but there was a kind of a threshold that was crossed at one point, and it wasn't expected. I'm not sure if it was Kasparov himself who said it wasn't going to be crossed, but some famous chess player thought that this was not going to be possible. But the thing is, for that particular program, it might have been possible to beat it, but beyond that, it became like a kind of a task that the computer has mastered, that they were able to figure out basically how to play chess using a computer. And from that point onward, it was a lost cause, essentially.
Yeah, somebody recently committed suicide. A chess,
Wow.
A chess champion, some sort of champion. He's famous because he brought it on YouTube. Tons of people love him because they get to experience chess through his YouTube. And another chess champion accused him of using a chess computer. So clearly they're saying chess computer makes you overpowered. Anyway, let's move on to something. I think this is pronounced Amen?
Amen, I think.
Amen?
Amen.
I don't know. Okay. He's saying thank you for the work you're doing. You're welcome. Is that the right reply? I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, it's really appreciated. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. How does this stream have such few viewers? Maybe post it to our ex-Muslim. Why do we have few viewers? There's a lot to say about that I'm not sure I know a lot about. I think if I knew about it, maybe I could fix it. But posting to the RX Muslim subreddit, I do that every week, right? At the moment that we go live, I submit. Maybe I'm being shadow banned. I don't get a lot of viewership on that subreddit. Maybe Reddit I don't think anyone, like, I don't think it's mods doing it to me in that subreddit. It's Reddit doing it to me.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. Review says, go Rustam and Usama. It's with a U and an O. They use brute force calculations. Yep. That's what we were talking about, the chess engine from 1995. I think it's still the same now. I mean, I'm saying that wrong. An AI that learned chess is doing something different than brute force calculations.
There are certain things that we don't really so for example, this comment that Deep Blue was a tie at first. I think probably that's what I had in mind when I was saying that there was no expectation from the human side that this is going to actually happen.
I want to go back to this. Sorry.
Yeah.
Amen. Am I saying that? Amen.
Amen.
Not
with an
No. Okay. I don't know this name, so and Arabic is not. I don't really understand Arabic. What we need, I think, is other people promoting the show. So somebody like you goes to the ex-Muslim subreddit and says, "Hey, I like this channel. You should watch the channel too." And even say some of the things you're saying here. You know, this channel should have more viewers. It doesn't have enough. It's worthy of it. Say this kind of things. When I'm the only one promoting my channel, that doesn't look good. And I think on the ex-Muslim subreddit, I'm literally the only one that has ever promoted this channel. Even Usama hasn't done it.
Well, I sometimes upvote things depending on what I see, but look, regarding this particular point, I once saw a video about he's a guy who actually works on promoting content and so on. He said one of the common mistakes that people make about promoting their product is to go to some social media platform and start posting or promoting there. Basically, you're going to be preaching to the choir, because what you're actually doing is you're going to be posting, unless you have some kind of a promotional campaign that's going to try to reach out to people you don't know. What you're actually doing is you're giving the people you know something they already know, and that's probably not going to cause the growth that you want. And so you want to have a way to spill over to other places where people don't know you. That's mainly the gist of what he was
So
saying.
that's the abstract idea. What's the concrete example here? What other places?
For example, have someone you host you on their channel. That way, you're going to have a kind of an overlap between the two audiences, and then
Yeah, I've been doing that. I mean, there's not a lot of it. Yeah, like I was on Secular Spirits channel, Alim, and yeah, you know, like actually, at least 2 of our viewers are actually his viewers first. So they saw me there. So as little as we're getting, we would have even less if I didn't show up on that show.
Yeah. So yes, I think the subreddit for ex-Muslims is a good place to just keep posting there as a kind of a continuous record of the activities. But when it comes to promoting, probably that's not necessarily that situation.
Dawkins is not going to take a call from us or take an email from us. I mean, I would try. And by the way, I have tried to contact big people like that. I mean, in general, they need to. I think this is how it works. I don't really know. I'm not in their position. You know, he has a huge platform. He's like the most famous, like tier 1. For him to get on somebody else's show, they need to be tier 1 or tier 2. He's not going to go on a tier 15. We're the last tier, wherever that number is. Last.
It's not impossible, and for the magazine, we actually were going to we ran interviews in the magazine with several people, but that's a written format. That's not the same thing.
Hey, I want to answer this question. Amen. Please stay until I want to get to this. It's going to be a while to explain it for me and Usama. I want to finish up real quick what we had already started. We went on a huge deviation, 15 different tangents, like nested 3 levels. So please fill out this quick form. Your input will directly shape the lessons and tools we build into EALS. Every answer helps make the program better for everyone. The idea is to make something that's relevant to you guys, so like we don't end up doing something that nobody benefits from. So Usama and everyone watching, please help me improve these questions even. Like this form itself needs improvement.
Yeah, but
so the first
before thinking about the actual content of the survey, where is this going to be posted in order to actually get as many?
So I posted it to the ex-Muslim subreddit, and then I posted to all the social media I know to tell people to go to that post to try to get a lot of likes and comments on the post. So Reddit uses, you know, its algorithm shows it to more people in that subreddit. Now we have 11 likes only. I can go look at the views and see how many people have seen it, or at least according to the views. Let me find that now. Let's see more insights. 1,600 views, and you know that could be somebody that just scrolled and didn't really read anything. I think that's how that works. So it's not even really 1,600 people read it.
Wait, so what you're saying is this survey was posted, or
I wrote a post to the ex-Muslim subreddit, and the survey link is in it.
Yeah, so there is a link to this survey right now. Is it live? That's what I'm asking.
And yes, and I thought I just put it on the screen. Did I? Hold on. This.
Yeah, you put it on the screen, but I was wondering if this is actually already shared with people and whether you had already some responses.
No one responded. No feedback. Let me show you the post I put on the subreddit that was trying to elicit people's feedback, or to get them to go to the online forum. So here it is. What would make a program for ex-Muslims who want to grow from personal boundaries to public advocacy? most useful to you. See, already here, this is external, changing your output. And so is this. It's not saying how to improve the input or the insides. Anyway, hey everyone, we're building a free program called EALS, Ex-Muslim Advocates Learning Series, and want your feedback so we can shape it around what you actually need, what would make it most useful and relevant to your journey. EALS has 2 parts, a weekly live stream featuring a mix of formats from Meet an Ex-Muslim episodes that introduce people to others in the community, including those who prefer to stay anonymous, to question and answer sessions where we discuss real life challenges and help each other through them, to focus talks on topics that help ex-Muslims grow as advocates, from personal boundaries and well-being to public activism and leadership. And the thing we were saying earlier about how to improve your mind internally, independent of anything external. And the other part is a discussion forum where people can go deeper, share experiences, and support each other's progress, making it so that the 1-hour weekly live stream is all week. The idea is to make it useful for everyone on the spectrum, from those who just want to quietly advocate for their own well-being. Again, that's external. I got to fix this. Among their loved ones, to those publicly working to end apostasy laws and apostophobia and looking to sharpen their impact. You can give anonymous feedback here. No name or even email address needed. What would make the program like this valuable for you? EALS is a Uniting the Cults-led program in collaboration with Ex-Muslims International. If you filled the form, or even if you didn't, please upvote and comment below so this post reaches more people. Thank you, and I hope you all get what you desire in life. Okay. Prayer, luck, and love.
So perhaps maybe I could think a little bit about who might be filling out the survey, because if we're thinking about the possible audience who would be interested in the program in the first place, it would be someone who wants to learn. But if it's someone who wants to learn, is it someone who's going to be able to be at a position where they can give you feedback to shape that program? Wouldn't it be someone who might already have some experience to know exactly where things should be headed, instead of someone who might be...
Well, theoretically, a person who could be an instructor who knows they want to learn 1 or 2 more things could be filling out the form. This doesn't have to be the, on the spectrum of what you're able to do. On this end being just your mind and maybe a little bit of personal boundaries. And on this end is activism, like the way Betty does. Everyone in between could be filling out the form.
Yeah, what I was...
The people on one end are really going to email me.
Yeah. So that's probably what I was thinking, because maybe for people who are interested in getting into this, who are still now outside of the circle of this, but have a motivation to get involved, they might be able to give some constructive feedback once they have something to bite on, instead of starting to just basically meditate internally. And
yeah. Which is why I'm actually today, I want to put, am I going to have it? No, it's not going to be today. At the end of this live, I'm going to put that pinned comment in there. I'm going to put something saying a call to action, sneak peek of the first 2 lecture episodes. And I'm going to link last week's timestamped link to that portion.
Yes. Yeah,
I think the thing is that only shows them the lecture type episode and only one style of the 2 styles that I'm thinking of. It's something. It's better than nothing.
But that's the point. That it is something that they can start from, especially for that category of people who just want to learn and might not have kind of a baseline to start from.
So really, last week's episode, and I mean the portion that is devoted to this part, the part that's going to be time stamped, is a beta episode. right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
an early, before we
That's
launch episode.
that's
I
that's
think we
exactly
should do another beta episode for the Meet an Ex-Muslim and for the question, all the types. We should figure out how to do that.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a good starting point that perhaps could be that hook or the initial starting point for someone who wants sincerely to get involved, and wants some kind of a place to start from.
Oh, so so the sneak peek concept needs to be inside this forum, not forum. So I'm gonna add a note to myself. Add sneak peek of first 2 episodes to the anonymous forum, feedback forum. And then I guess eventually I'll repost the ex-Muslim subreddit thing and put the sneak peek in there too. And by the way, in general, let me say something kind of the opposite of even wanting. Imagine somebody's never had therapy, and then they're going to go get a therapist. And imagine the therapist asking them, so tell me what you want in therapy. By the way, what a therapist does ask, and I've had this really from every therapist, and this is not just a thing that therapists do. This is a thing much broader than therapy. What are your goals for your sessions?
Yeah.
A business consultant might ask that. It's not specific to therapy. It's a very good question. It's like saying, what do you want from me? In a nicer way. And they say it even nicer than the way I said it. I say it very bland. Why are you coming? What are you hoping to achieve? What are you hoping to, by the end of our sessions, like, how do you hope to have changed by the end of your sessions? What do you hope to have achieved by then? But I don't think the therapist would ask things like, what do you want me to say to you? Or what therapy tools do you want me to use? Although, if you've done a bunch of therapy already, then you might already have an idea like, oh, I don't like CBT therapy, so I don't want someone that's just focused on that. Even though they might be wrong about that, but that is something they can have in their head because they know what it is, at least, and done some, like,
no,
therapist has done it with them before.
That question at the beginning is actually really important, because even though it might not be the sole way that the therapist or whoever is trying to create the direction is going to use, it's still something that's going to inform their plan for how things are going to proceed. It's also something that would give a kind of an introduction of who that person is to the therapist, in order to figure out what's actually prompting them to come there in the first place. So yes, I think it's an important question, but if we want to think about it from the point of view of the survey, it would be an important collection point for strategy.
All right, so do you want to see the questions now?
Yeah, let's take a look.
I use ChatGPT to help me with this. The very end is my stuff. The beginning is ChatGPT stuff, which I didn't have a problem with. When people around you mistreat you, pressure, and silence you, what do you wish you knew how to do better? This seems focused on external, right? Unless how to stay calm internally and not freak out is a how to do better. I mean, it is. In a sense, your mind is also external. Does that make sense to people?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be a question that would draw on specific situations that the person went through. So they might end up recounting those situations, those that stand out, where after you're done, you go and ruminate on what happened and start thinking, well, I should
Yeah,
have
like
done.
suppose, this is from personal experience too. I might answer this like, I got angry. I wish I didn't get angry. Something like that.
Yeah.
What skills, knowledge, or confidence would help you advocate more effectively for yourself or for others? Again, this is external. It's about advocating first.
And this is the type of question I was talking about that requires you to already have enough experience, maybe also working with others to be able to articulate something like that. Sometimes if you're in the midst of it and just going through a situation, you might not be able to necessarily say, aha, this is the point where some improvement should actually take place.
Of course, if you imagine a 5-year-old, no 5-year-old can answer any of these questions.
Yeah, but also you can think about grown-ups who might struggle with them not being able to pinpoint exactly what it is that went wrong and how to address it. What kind of skills would be needed in order to get out of this type of situation?
When you imagine being an effective advocate, what does that look like for you personally? What fears or risks concern you most about speaking up or going public? This seems like a duh kind of question. Because,
I mean, there are obviously some people who are going to say that this has to do
anybody still seeing me?
I
think I'm not live anymore.
It says live. Why do you suspect that it's not live? Well, in any case, yeah. So that question is, like you said, probably going to.
Hey, what happened? My screen went black.
It's. I still see that you're.
So what did you see on my face? Was I frozen?
No.
I was moving around.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what I was doing. I was going, oh fuck, my TV is off. Then I started checking. Did I lose power? And I noticed my computer's still on. And I noticed the camera light's still on. I was like, oh shit, am I still live? So I could have been talking?
Yeah, no.
I think what happened was everything on my computer was fine, but my TV shut off for some reason. Okay. And my TV is my monitor. So the only...
Well, good thing you didn't decide to start doing
get up and leave. Yeah.
In any case, that question probably people would be able to answer regardless of their level. It might not be that informative because it's just going to list things that we already know about.
I really think anything anyone says is stuff we've already considered. But they might say something we haven't considered. They might.
Are these answers in the settings for Google Forms? They ask you if it's going to be a short answer or a paragraph.
These are all paragraph style.
Okay, yeah, that's what I wanted to make sure, because in case someone wants to elaborate, they think maybe there is something.
Yeah, maybe I should put content. Maybe I should put instructions. Don't write walls of text. Use paragraphs. You know what I mean? I cannot see a wall of text. You know what, though? You know what I might do if I get a wall of text? I'm not going to complain to them. I'm going to copy paste to ChatGPT and say, please put paragraphs.
Yeah.
Better yet, give me the bullet points.
I mean, there's obviously a reason why it's something that is unpleasant to read, and why when you're looking at any kind of text that's really well formatted, it's comfortable and inviting in order for you to.
Yes, to makes you want to read it.
Yeah, So sometimes for me, if I have this kind of idea that streams out, I end up without any kind of paragraph or anything. But when I go back and read it again, I clearly see that this should have been put into smaller pieces.
All right, one more of ChatGPT's questions. What kind of support and learning experience do you think would help you most right now? My question was simple. Select which of the following you would like to learn how to do better. And these are just the episodes written in sentences. Love, compassion, empathy, critical thinking. That's episode 2, reason. Episode 3, how to understand and regulate your emotions. Episode 4, how to politely set and enforce personal boundaries. Episode 5, how to collaborate with others on joint projects. Episode 6, how to identify and deal with trolling behavior. Episode 7, and actually, I already chased things. One of these is going to be on feminism.
Is there a one? Is there an other at the bottom?
Yep.
Okay, good, because it's not possible to know if people would think of something new, and it could be a potential.
And this is not everything, by the way. I have other ideas that I haven't even put here. This is just like the main block of things.
Yeah, but getting some input from people could then generate some idea that could either be its own thing, or it could be absorbed into one of the already mentioned things.
How to develop charisma. You know, I was talking to my brother, and I mentioned this program, and I started mentioning the episodes, and I said, I even put charisma in there, and he goes, why did you put charisma in there? And by the way, between me and my brother, he was the one that was like popular in school, and I didn't have any friends. Like, it was like that. He was the captain of the football team. He would do parties, and he would go to parties. Everyone would invite him to parties. And then he's still that way as an adult. Me, I'm still this way after high school. I don't have a lot of friends. You know, I'm not popular in every way you can imagine. Like this person, like Amen said earlier. He goes, why did you put charisma in there? And I said, I remember saying to him, well, that's the thing that autistic people are missing.
That's funny.
And you know, that this is something I intentionally tried to learn, and very late in my life. Some people are gaining this kind of knowledge 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 years old. They're already good at it. I was like in my early 30s, still don't know how to do things in that realm. And then this is after I left Islam, right after I left Islam. I was with my physics professor. We were friends. By the way, I'm so glad of that, having a physics professor that later became my friend. And because in my world, he's a lot more than just a physics professor. He's like a life professor. I always knew him as a comedian. He's very funny. And I remember saying that all the time. Especially when he's drunk, he does it more. That's an interesting thing too, seeing him when he's drunk and I'm drunk. Our kids were there. His kid is like 2 years older than my kids. I noticed his kid cracking jokes. My kids were like 4 and 3. So his kid was like 6. She's cracking jokes. My 2 kids, not cracking jokes. I noticed this. I said it out loud to him, and he said, of course, what do you expect? You're not funny. and I thought 2 things from that I realized. You learn it. You learn to be funny. So that's I was thinking about my kids at that time. They didn't learn it from me. And then I thought, well, that means I can learn it. Even though I didn't have a parent that did that. Okay?
Right.
So I was 33 years old. This is 14, 15 years ago now. And I thought, all right, I'm going to fix this. And I mean, one of the things was I just started trying to make jokes like with my kids. They were bad initially. And maybe it was many years before they were any good. And maybe a lot of people might think they're still no good. I think they're good. I laugh like crazy at my jokes, by the way. Even if no one else is laughing. You can see some of it if you go to watch Blasphemy Day. I was laughing at my own jokes. Everyone else had a straight face. So let me tell you what I did. When I was growing up, I never really watched TV, which means I didn't watch like sitcoms, and I didn't watch stand-up comedy. At 33 years old, I made it my job. I remember having had seen, what is this language? I remember having had seen Seinfeld much earlier in my life, and I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was fun. So I was like, okay, I bought the whole set, and I watched it through the full time, then a second time, tried to do it with my wife. Wait, this was before I left Islam. Because I remember trying to do this with my wife. And when I was with my wife, I was still a Muslim. So it was the short crossover. Shortly after that, I left Islam. So my kids were 3 and 2.
Was she interested in that project?
That's what I found very interesting. She did not give a fuck. By the way, I told her, this is how you could learn American culture. She was not interested. Part of it was she wasn't understanding it. I'd be laughing. She's not laughing. I tried to explain to her. It's still not funny.
Yeah.
But she didn't want to keep going like I was. I mean, I guess if I was so oblivious to what was funny, then I wouldn't enjoy it. But to be clear, there's still plenty of that. Hold on one second. I'm gonna go blank for a second. Okay.
Okay. I hope he doesn't die.
I was sick a couple days ago. Okay.
Well, you did go blank for a second. Maybe it's not your screen this time.
So Seinfeld is like 20 years older than me. So there's a lot of references I don't understand. Plus, because I don't watch a lot of TV, there's even more references I don't understand. But the stuff that I did understand was funny, and it was enough to keep me going and be interested. And by the way, today I still watch the show. I chain watch it. Like if I want something playing while I'm doing something else, it'll be Seinfeld. And I still find new things. And the old things that I found funny before, each time it happens, instead of it staying the same or going down, it gets more funny. I don't understand that. It's even more funny. I might be in my 40th iteration of watching the whole thing back to back.
So are you saying that in order to learn charisma, watch Seinfeld? Are we?
Well, let me say something more general. I figured out, and my ideas on this got better, but I think what comedians do, and maybe not all comedians, but in general, what they do, they're really good at charisma. Part of what they're doing is, imagine, like the talk you and I are having right now, I'm trying to gauge my interactions to get a reaction out of you. A comedian's doing that with 1,000 faces all at once. And he's scanning, and he can see, like, he makes a joke and he can see 70% of the population acted this way, 30% acted this way. And he makes that calculation quickly on the fly and then changes what he's doing on the fly. Watching them do that, and then with Seinfeld is really cool. If you watch Seinfeld and you watch all his work, like that's on the internet, or I think it's all on YouTube, all his professionally done stuff. Not YouTube, Netflix, sorry. If you go look at his oldest stuff, there's stuff he has older than Seinfeld, the series. And then you look at some of the stuff he did afterwards, a couple of movies, and then stand-up. He has the same running jokes across all of it from his entire life history. But it's not the exact same joke. It evolves. And to be clear, each one is getting funnier. It's not boring because it's the same premise or something. So you're able to see the evolution of his thinking, his jokes, and then you hear them talk about how they do their work. I remember watching an interview. I don't know if that's the right word. It was 4 comedians: Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Louis C.K., and Ricky Gervais. And they were all talking about their process. And all a little bit different, but what was consistent about all of it, and by the way, Seinfeld even uses these words, he does like the scientific method. He theorizes about what would be funny, tries it, sees the effect on people, makes an analysis of what he might change for next time. Then next time he tries that, and so on.
Yeah, I remember you used that particular idea in that piece that you wrote, I think, that you gave me.
You mean my like science article?
Yeah.
Yeah, I put him in there. I want people to understand science is everywhere, and even the people who are doing what most people think is not science, they're saying they're doing science. And by science, I just mean reason. A negative process of hypothesis elimination.
Well, if you look at how this whole thing evolved, starting with what was called natural philosophy, and then that evolved into actual science in the form that we understand it today, it didn't evolve as science. It evolved from all sorts of various things that people would do in other disciplines, and then a kind
bring
of
science into it.
Yeah, a kind of a direction that had a very distinct systematic way of doing things emerged. That methodology exists in other places, but it wasn't as refined or as rigorous as in what we later called science. So people can do science in all sorts of circumstances and contexts, but they wouldn't realize it. Part of the fact that they don't realize it is because it's not being done systematically.
You mean systematically with a whole bunch of other people?
I mean, like, if you do that in a kind of a casual way, sometimes you might be applying.
I get what you mean. Yeah. In a lot of cases, though, it's not practical to do it in a systematic way. You know,
if it were done,
it's like you're doing 30% of the method.
Yeah, if you were doing things systematically, like science does things, life would be very, very different in a positive way on so many different levels. But some of these things are also not easy to port into other disciplines and to use them without having an actual deliberate process of doing that. But even when there is a kind of an intuitive way of implementing the things that do work from science, even then, because of the fact that it's done casually, it doesn't actually have that kind of visible, that kind of visibility that you have in science.
Okay, real quick, let's finish the episodes. Storytelling, which part of that is just, I think that means like writing, but a type of it. Making a point through a story. Running support groups, public speaking, volunteering in nonprofits, like the way Usama does for this one. Getting into politics, but I don't mean running for office. I mean it the way Wissam Sharafuddin does. He doesn't run for office, but he's involved with those kind of people and doing things and trying to drum up support for politicians, and actually he's committed to doing an episode with us on this topic right here. Campaign building, like all the things that went into and will be going into the Free Bari campaign. Okay, so that's enough for that. I guess we should now answer Eamon's question.
Yeah, let me just say one last thing about this survey. I think it's a good starting point, but I can definitely imagine seeing iterations for this after getting some feedback. That the survey itself can undergo some modifications based on that feedback, but the important thing is to actually get some people to fill it out to get a sense of where the compass is basically pointing.
By the way, this question Eamon asked, when did you leave Islam, at what age, and what triggered? That's part of what might be asked in a Meet an Ex-Muslim episode. So this is like a beta episode for that part of it. Usama, do you want to answer first, or?
Well, in my case, if I want, well, when did I leave Islam officially, like completely left? I would probably take it back to around 1996. That's way too long ago, 30 years ago.
And you were a teenager.
Late teens. I was basically going second year college, first second year college, and so at that time I had already gone through a lot of what made it possible to start questioning religion. And you need to keep in mind that this happened before the internet, before knowledge was as readily available, and it happened in a country that is predominantly Muslim, in Jordan, which means that if you were to go to a library, especially if you're looking at the Arabic section of the library, you're not going to be finding a book that's critically examining religion. It's mainly going.
Were you searching for that and couldn't find it, or were you not even searching?
Oh no, I was searching and finding, but it was things in English. So
hey, can you lock the door?
Yeah, so the English side wasn't as monitored. You could find all sorts of books. There are certain books that were banned, and at one point, I remember, I think it was 2002, 2003, maybe. I was I heard of Ibn Warraq's book. Why I'm Not a Muslim, and I wanted to order it. It was available back then through Amazon, and so I wanted to order it from Amazon to Jordan. And in order to make sure that I'm not going to get in trouble because of it, I actually had to go and clear it through a government agency that basically looks at what kind of books are getting imported. Turns out that they didn't really care that much about it. But given the fact that some books are underground, so for example, satanic verses, you could find it in Jordan, but it's something that is done behind the scenes. It's not something that you go, oh, I'm interested in buying Salman Rushdie's satanic verses. I hope that this is now different, that they can buy it openly, although I suspect that this is not the case. But you would find these things underground mainly, and so yes, it was challenging to get information, especially information about early Islam. So my path was somewhat different from the path that many new ex-Muslims today find, where they start looking at the history of Islam and they say, this history has so many flaws and problematic issues, especially the early Islam, and then they compare it with what kind of political things that are happening, where there is a lot of violence that is connected with Islam. This is absolutely nothing to do with the way that I left the religion. The way I left the religion has to do with the content of the Quran itself, with the image of God, with the idea of his.
And you could read it.
Yeah. I mean, we studied it for 12 years throughout the
in school.
Yeah.
Every year you were required to take religion class?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had to take a religion class.
And you were reading Quran every year?
Yeah.
And interpreting, or just memorizing?
Interpreting, memorizing, not memorizing to the same extent that you would see especially in non-Arabic speaking places where you can see rote memorization. We would have some interpretation for specific verses, and those verses that are relevant for a specific topic get memorized and so on. So by the time that you finish high school, you have already more knowledge of the Quran and the Hadith than many of the people in other Muslim countries, and even some Western countries where you have some kind of a rudimentary understanding of Islam, say at a college level. So growing up as a Muslim in a Muslim country that speaks Arabic already gives you a lot of the basic knowledge that would be required in order to do some critical thinking. But at the same time, even though you do have those tools, you're discouraged from using them because every day, every Friday, you end up going to a Friday sermon. And the Friday sermon is trying to present a certain interpretation that conforms with the traditional ideas of how to understand the text, of how to implement it in your life, of what kind of implications it has on everyday life, on science, on politics, everything that has to do with religion. So breaking out from this kind of cycle wasn't actually easy, and so my exit was through that kind of philosophical / scientific aspect of contrasting the content of the Quran with philosophy and science mainly. So there was the ethical aspect of what God is and who he is and how he connects with humans, and then there was the contradiction with science. So those were the main.
Did you have dialogue with anyone?
There was some dialogue. It was limited. I did have. I was fortunate to have a couple of really open-minded friends who not necessarily approved of leaving religion, but were interested in philosophy and science. So there were some really
They
nice...
would talk with you instead of saying "fashar," or "fashar" is not the right word.
Haram.
Haram. Yeah. What does fashar mean? That means like shame?
Like saying that it's not true. It's not true. That it's preposterous. It's impossible. That,
but it has nothing to do with religion, and it's not a religious.
Yeah, it's not a religious thing. But yeah, but at the same time, there were other individuals that I entrusted, but it turned out that they did not deserve the trust of discussing this kind of thing with them. I have in particular one person in mind who eventually said that you're an apostate. You should be put to death.
Did you know you were an apostate yet when he said that?
Yeah, absolutely.
You knew, okay.
I mean, it was obvious.
I'm asking because some people come into the ex-Muslim subreddit and they say something like, "So how do I get out of this religion?" And a very common reply is, "It looks like you already did." You know, like you don't even know you're an apostate.
No, that process that preceded this, where there was a kind of a resistance. After all, you grew with the religion as an integral part of your life. Questioning it is a big deal. It's a bigger deal than many people think, who just look at this. Oh, this person left religion. This is something that is very common. They left religion because they want to go indulge in prohibited things, whether it's sexual, related to alcohol, or whatever kind of thing that they believe this person left religion for. They don't realize how difficult it is to actually be first so enmeshed in this kind of idea, and then to divest yourself from religion. It's not something that's easy. So by the time you get there, you realize that you're there, but you don't want to be there. There is a point, but it's a kind of a transitory period where you wish that you're not headed there, but you are. I remember a specific Ramadan where I actually spent a lot of time in the mosque. That was
you were trying to go back.
Yeah, I was trying.
You were trying to take the blue pill.
Yeah, exactly. So
there was like 1,000 blue pills, and you're like, "Oh, it didn't work. Oh, it didn't work. Oh, it's not working."
Yeah, it was especially Laylatul Qadr. It's that specific night in Ramadan where supposedly prayers are especially fulfilled by God, and so I really was praying very hard then. But
and what were you saying? By the way, something weird about Islamic prayers, at least the way I know them, versus like the way I see American Christians pray. Yeah. I see American Christians pray in a way where they request specific things, but I don't think I ever saw that with Islamic prayers.
No, there are.
Really? So, I mean, prayer is reciting a bunch of things. Where do you fit in your specific request?
Okay, so
it's not like Yin An Abuk, right? You know what I mean? Because by the way, all the curses that people say, and I mean Islamic context, and I guess this is all the religions, effectively you're saying, I want God to put a curse on you. Right?
Yeah, there are some. Okay, so there are many curses that take on a kind of a sexual aspect to them that try to target the female side of your family, which basically is trying to shame you into the situation that they want. So that's also very common. It's not only about God, but yeah, that too. But back to the prayers thing. So you have two different types of prayer in Islam. There's the ritual prayers that have to be done 5 times a day. That's the salah. And supposedly you have this kind of period right after the salah where you can talk to God directly and start supplicating, asking for things, or asking for forgiveness separately from the salah. And then you have the dua, which is very similar to what the Christians would consider to be the prayers, which does have some formulaic types where
maybe that's what I did wrong. Maybe I would still be a Muslim if I did the prayers right.
Well, you're not missing much then.
I never got training in the prayers, I guess, or at least the non-mechanical version part of the prayers. Initially they teach you, you got to do this, then this, and this, and then later they teach you the reciting part. And I guess I missed stage 3, the class where they teach you about the dua.
Yeah, well, there is a reason for the salah, the one where you actually have a kind of a ritual. This probably dates back to the time of Muhammad in Medina, where he wanted to check the allegiance of certain people. And so he had specific times during the day where everybody needs to show up. And so they
and make the same movements, so we all look like a cult.
Yeah, and one of them was especially important. That's the dawn prayers. So imagine that you're in bed in the middle of the night. You wake up, you go wash and go to the mosque, stand in this military way and pray behind him. So if you're really showing loyalty, you're going to be doing that. And so I think this has a lot to do with this time period. And that's separate from what we were talking about, the dua.
Okay, is it my turn?
Yeah, take it from here.
I guess I should start with how I started in Islam. So like Usama, I was born to it. I mean, technically no one's born to it. But my parents are Muslim, and although I'm not the version of Muslim where on the day one of birth, somebody's reciting Quran in my ear. That never happened. And maybe that was part of the problem. that 33 years later made me leave. Big differences between me and Usama. I was born and raised in the US. And also we lived in a place or some mix of how my parents are. We didn't have a bunch of Muslims in our circle. I do remember a family we used to hang out with. They were from the same city we're from, or my parents are from, Halab, Aleppo, Syria. I'm pretty sure they were Muslims, but I don't remember. I mean, technically they could have been Christians. How would I know? I don't think I would know.
You probably wouldn't know outwardly because you have to.
I mean, I don't have a memory of anything that makes me think they were Muslims. Aside from void of like a cross. You know, if you see a cross on someone, that's very clear.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't remember seeing anything like that. But it's possible I saw it and didn't recognize it. You know, I was very young. Anyway, and you know, we didn't live in a place like Dearborn where there's a ton of Muslims and Arabs. And so in my own life, first of all, I'm not even, I wasn't a popular person. I didn't have a lot of friends. And the few friends that I did have, they happened to not be Muslims. Like a lot of times there was, you know, an Indian guy, Hindu, or maybe he's atheist, but his parents, you know, it's totally different stuff going on. In fourth grade, my dad put me, you know, I was in a private school, Muslim school. Interesting thing, during Quran recitation class, if that was a class, I was in fourth grade and the principal, I think it was the principal, was there, asked me to go to the fifth grade class. He put me in the front, like I'm in the teacher position. And he said, recite Al-Fatiha. So I did. So apparently they liked my tajweed. I think it was partly good because Arabic is my first language because that's what my parents spoke to us at birth for the first few years. And, you know, we have very little interaction with the rest of the world, just outside in the next, you know, and even TV for kids, for toddlers, there's no words. Tom and Jerry doesn't have words, right?
Yeah, it doesn't.
I'm not hearing English in any way for the first 3 years of my life.
No, there is.
So Arabic is my first language. I could do tajweed. I think that had an effect on me too, by the way, being good at that. In the sense like a connection to Islam or whatever. Maybe. I don't really know. I haven't thought about it too much. Fifth grade, I was in Syria for a year, but they couldn't leave me in a Arabic school because I didn't understand anything. They put me in a European school called Icarda. Best school year of my life by far. There was no religion talk or class. There was an Arabic class, but that's learning the language. In college, I was studying physics, and I remember thinking at that time, you know, that the universe is so amazing. And I'm sure I borrowed this thought from other people, that there's no way this could have been, you know, God had to have made this. Like I saw so many amazing things in physics, and each time I saw one, it was like another piece of supporting evidence for God. And to be clear, evidence cannot support, it can only rule out. But I didn't know that back then. 9/11 happened, and 2001, I remember seeing it on the TV, you know, when the two planes hit.
Yeah.
And I think it was like that same day. Might have been Muslims. You know, they were saying that already. And I don't remember what I thought about that. I didn't think about it too much. You know, there wasn't internet. What year was this? Is 2001. I said, what year was it? It's 2001. Yeah, there's internet, but internet back then, maybe people now don't have a conception of what the internet was. I remember in 1995, eBay ads were coming out.
Yeah.
That's what was big at the time, and there was no social media. Amazon was out, right?
Yeah.
Google had been around. There's no Facebook yet. There's no Twitter. There's no Reddit. Hadn't I think Reddit started in 2000, but I didn't come to Reddit until 5 years ago. Like that's how late I've been to things. Social media, I was late to everything. I didn't hit Facebook till 2007, I think. And I was only using it for work. I wasn't using it for personal yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even when I was on the internet, it wasn't to search about Islam. And I want to say another thing. When you're insulated and protected from the evils of Islam, despite being a Muslim, because of where I was, because of this specific family that I'm in, like my mom, the upbringing she had, my dad, the upbringing he had. My dad didn't know much about Islam, neither did my mom. My mom came in a family that was very liberal. My dad, not so much, but it's not very Islamic. My guess of what happened in my dad's lineage was they were Christians a long time ago. They got invaded by Muslims, had to convert, but they converted really in name only, and they just kept their old traditions.
By the way, that's actually probably the majority of people. I mean, the entire region was Christian to begin with, and it wasn't really Islamicized.
Yeah, and the area I'm talking about is Turkey.
Yeah. But what I wanted to say is that even after the Islamic conquest, people thought that on the face of it, it might seem, oh, everybody has now turned Muslim. No, the majority of people continued with their religion for a very, very, very long time.
And forget religion, it continued with their family traditions.
Yeah.
Like an example of a family tradition, okay, that maybe people don't think of as a family tradition. Beating your kids. That wasn't a thing in my dad's family. In my mom's family, it was a thing. I'm not saying my mom did it. She rejected that. But her dad, and his dad, and so on. So back to my dad's scenario, okay, they didn't beat their kids. But Islam says you can do that. So, like a lot of people who want to do it already, it's in their family tradition, and then they use Quran as a defense, so they don't have to change it. You know, in reverse, rather than Islam's making them do it, they already have it in their family, and then a guy who wants to do it uses Quran as a defense so he can continue doing it. You know what I mean?
I would probably not make that much of a separation between what the tradition and the culture is and what religion is. We're talking about 15 centuries now of this situation. So it's going back to what was before and saying that the Quran maybe, or in this particular case, it was actually the Hadith that reinforced this.
But let's
it's
analyze it more.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. No, I was saying.
Go ahead.
So I was going to say that what Islam did probably is reinforce certain things that were there. As a very simple example, Islam took the pagan rituals of Hajj and formalized it and sanitized it a little bit and incorporated it within the religion because they wanted the pagan Muslims, the pagan Meccans to actually support this new movement. So it does adopt some of the things and adapt them to its needs.
So here's what I wanted to say. A lot of times when people use the word culture, they look at a country, they look at the border, and then they say, that has a culture. That's like maybe a very crude, rudimentary first approximation of it. there's a million cultures in there. And yeah, maybe they share some stuff, so you could sort of think of them as a unit, but with so much variation in between. And the better way to look at it is each family has its own culture within the major culture. And even the family, like you can't think of it as just, you know, because there's forks that happen. So one family has a culture, they produce 8 kids, each of them has input into changing its family's culture. I mean, you can't deviate so much that, you know, it's like you have no connection to your parents.
Yeah.
It's slight improvements or degradations and some of each from your parents.
And I would
and in
probably
this day and
say,
age, go ahead.
yeah, I was actually exactly going to say this particular point, that in modern times, that kind of deviation between the generations is probably much greater than it was, say, 230, 300 years ago, where the children and their parents are probably going to have a lot in common in terms of their culture and their conception of how to proceed in society compared to today, where the gap between my generation and my parents, for example, compared to my parents and their parents, the gap is significantly larger.
Yeah, we're accelerating. If somebody understands that concept, that would encapsulate everything you said. I don't think a lot of people do understand it, but one way to say it is, if you compare 200,000 years ago to now, and you look at across 3 generations in each case, 200,000 years ago, me as a grandfather, my grandchildren are doing almost the same as me.
Yeah,
everything's the same.
Yeah.
Today, when I'm a grandfather, if I become a grandfather, my grandchildren will be having such different lives than me. And my own kids, I already see it in my own kids. My kids have, okay, at teenage age, my kids have access to ChatGPT. At their age, I remember I didn't have a pager yet. I didn't get a cell phone until I was 19. I didn't have a smartphone until way later. I didn't have my own computer till 19. My kids had iPads at 4 years old.
Yeah.
Anyway, lots of big differences. Some kind of things that my kids are experiencing that I never had to. Man, I can't imagine dealing with this. Having access to social media and then saying things when you're 17, and then that affecting your job life 10 years later because they can see something you said 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
You and me, I remember some of the stuff I said and did when I was 17. I'm glad that is not findable now. I don't want anyone to know those things. I have a few friends that know, and they better shut their fucking mouths. I can't imagine what teenagers have to deal with today in that respect.
Yeah.
It's harder. My point is, it's harder than our lives. Some stuff's easier, obviously, right? Okay, like they can order something and it shows up.
I mean, it just shows up.
I had to go to the fucking library and look up things.
Yeah, it's a compromise. Some issues we dealt with were harder. Some of them were easier. But it's a compromise.
Another dynamic on what you just said. 200,000 years ago to today. 200,000 years ago, people had to be more worried about tigers coming to get you.
Yeah.
Now we don't worry about that at all, but I think what we have now might be worse than that. All the depression and anxiety that can come with, like, even here, this angle. You're 17 or 15 or 25. How am I going to make money? How am I going to live? 200,000 years ago, by the age of 12, you already know what you got to do. Your dad and your granddad and your mom's doing it right now. It's not even a lot of things. You've already learned most of it. You're maybe not as good as you will be when you're 25, but it's the same things. You know you got to hunt for food. You know you got to handle your tent or whatever. It's so simple to know what you got to do. Your role in society. Today, that's a lot harder. And there's a lot of weird pressures from society about that. Like when you're a kid, people ask you, what are you going to be when you grow up? Or what do you want to be when you grow up? Nobody should be asking that fucking question. I think that puts a lot of pressure on kids. Like you're supposed to know already.
Yeah.
What were you going to say? I can tell you want to give a criticism.
No. It's I generally agree. It's a completely different life that now has a lot of pluses, but it comes at a price. If people are really committed to all these changes, they have to be willing to accept paying those prices. And I think overall, it's more of a win than a lose. Like people who are sentimental, for example, about, oh, I would love to go back and live in the, I don't know, in the 1920s. It was a more innocent time, etc., etc.
Yeah. I agree with you in general. Let me push back.
Mm-hmm.
Comparing 200,000 years ago to today, and the today case is you live in Gaza.
Yeah.
There's nothing that matches that 200,000 years ago.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
If a tiger is eating your arm off, I think that's not as bad as what's happening in Gaza.
Yeah. Things are when it comes to violence, even though the overall violence in our day is much lower compared to the general. Back in the time when war was actually being fought face to face, you have a much higher chance of being killed in that particular way. But today, when it comes to how effective this is, something like the situation you mentioned in Gaza, it's much more concentrated for the particular people who are under the effect of that.
By the way, if we were done now, people would still think I'm Muslim. That's where we are in the story. I got married. I should say why. I thought Islam was important to me. I remember thinking at the time, it's a guide to living your life well. And I thought, well, I want to have a family. I want to have kids, a wife and kids. I got to teach my kids Islam so they can have a guide for their life. But I don't know anything about Islam. This is my thinking at the time. So I need to marry a woman who does know Islam to teach them. So I go overseas and I get married to a woman like that. Married for 4.5 years, had 2 kids. We divorced. And then basically right after our separation, she starts talking about jinn, talking to her.
That happened after the separation or during the marriage itself?
Immediately after the separation.
Okay.
Like days, maybe. Maybe a little bit longer. Initially, when she was saying that, I thought she was just saying it to get me back. Because she even said, don't you think you should come back now that this is happening? I was like, what? Because you think jinn is talking to you, I should come back? What? To protect you from the jinn? Is that what you're saying? That's what she was saying. It's like, no, get out of here. What? And then it got worse. She, her life was unfolding. And what I was understanding was she was doing Islam. She was doing more of Islam. Like she was reciting Quran more. And by the way, before we separated, she was doing things like playing Quran very loud. And, the first few years of our marriage, she wasn't doing that. But towards the end of it, she was. Then later I found out she had these pieces of paper with writing on it, verses in the Quran. to ward off jinn, and they're pasted all over the house. This completely contradicted my theory that Islam is a guide for living a good life. She was not living a good life. This is not what you're supposed to do. For one thing, you shouldn't think that the problems you have are because of jinn. First of all, this, she's hearing a voice. Initially, I thought she was lying, but I think she does hear a voice. It's your fucking voice. It's not an external being. I guess to be clear, I never believed in jinn. I saw it as symbolism. Jinn to me was like ghosts, like Casper the Ghost. And Exorcist, the movie.
Yeah. Did she get any kind of psychiatric help at some point?
She did eventually in Syria. And maybe here too. She doesn't tell me those things though. Why would you know what I mean? Like,
okay.
She's the kind of person which is default over there. It's not mental illness. Mental illness is bad. It's jinn. Jinn's not bad, apparently. Or it's socially acceptable, but mentally ill is not socially acceptable. I don't know. I never really had a conversation with her about it.
Yeah, there are religious aspects to this and cultural aspects that precedes Islam. This thing we do know for a fact, at least from the narrative that we have right now. But yeah, I think you're right. In that culture, when people talk about jinn, it's a kind of a normal thing. Yeah, this person could be possessed.
Yeah. So I left right away when the pillar that was holding up my Islam. There was only one pillar, I realized. Hold on. There was also the other thing, the thing from earlier, which was universe is so amazing, it has to be a God. That didn't do anything, though. That didn't hold up any Islam for me. Once the morality thing was gone, it was way later when I thought again about physics and the universe. And by the way, I also didn't go through a phase of there's a God, but it's not the Islamic God. I didn't have that. I threw out the whole thing.
That phase is a kind of that phase that some people would consider to be natural theology or the deistic God. This is probably a phase where you are fed up with the religion, whatever it is, but you still want to hold on to the idea of a creator God and try to come up.
I think my thinking was, because this is a normal process, like, okay, there's a theory, it's called Islam. I just found out this theory is junk. I throw it away. Yeah, it might have good parts in it, but you got to consider those individually. And yeah, somebody could be like, all right, let's talk about the God part of it. Well, if you're going to do that, that's fine, but now go do it in a serious way. Consider all the God theories. Well, that means looking at every religion and coming up with your own theories. Well, there's infinite ones you can come up with. Maybe not infinite, but practically infinite. And you can think about them on your own. And here's the thing. People have been thinking about this for a long time. Go back 3,000 years, or I guess 5,000 years. Judaism is what, 5,000 years? But there's older than that. Yeah. And then there's, you can see philosophers from ancient Greece, so 2,500 years ago, theorizing about God. And they're doing it in a very general way. Like, instead of just accepting somebody's claim about God and religion and saying, take this all or none package, what they would do is, okay, consider this element. Maybe there's a God, it's this element. And if not that, then this. So it's like going through steps of what version of God might be the case, but then through the process, you see they're ruling out all of them.
I think
that's a philosophical way of thinking about it.
Yeah, but that approach already assumes that the concept of God is a well-defined one. For me, from my perspective, the concept of God, the postulate of God as a postulate, first needs to be justified before I start even discussing what kind of God it is. Is it banana flavored or strawberry flavored God? I don't care about any of that. First of all, I have to think about, though, the original question that would justify, okay, I need this kind of conscious, intelligent entity or being or part of the existence or whatever it is that they postulate to be responsible for so and so. Is that something that is justified? I think in today, especially after all the scientific advancement that we have, I don't think this is even a hypothesis that comes up. It's like what Laplace said in his book when Napoleon allegedly came and asked him, "I don't see that you included God in your wonderful book." He said, "I didn't have any need for that hypothesis." So it's basically a redundant hypothesis from the point of view of our current perspective, and that's why when it comes to talking about justifying God as a hypothesis in the modern days, it really does put the burden of the proof on the people who assert this entity.
Yeah, it's saying something like, and correct me if this doesn't accurately represent what you're saying. For any idea somebody wants me to believe, tell me what the point of it is, then I will judge whether it's working. Nobody does that with God, or if they do, I don't agree with what they're saying the point is. Like some people say stuff like, I don't know, makes you feel better. And then other people say,
yeah,
it solved all problems. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Explain that. And they don't say anything.
Yeah, that's probably the monotheistic version of this, because the monotheistic God is supposedly supposed to be able to explain the beginning of the universe, explains how it's sustained, explains ethics, explains everything, and then serve as the kitchen sink at the end of the day. So it's basically doing everything. So
Ayman says, why is being ex-Muslim such a big part of your identity? He's talking about me. Seems like you were not too traumatized by Islam. I would love to answer that. We're already at 2 hours, right? I think we need to stop now. And Ayman, if you're still interested in that next week, please come back, ask the question again. I will happily answer. It's long. By the way, I have answered this to some degree at least once on this channel. You might be able to find the video. I don't know. But anyway, I think we should stop now, and we will meet up next week. Usama, stay on for a second.
Sure.
All right. Bye, everyone, and thanks for coming, and thanks for asking questions and talking to us. All right. So,